I hope everyone is enjoying your food. ¿Todos están disfrutando su comida? ¿Sí? Can you all help me thank BCIC who provided the food for today? Gracias, gracias, gracias. So we are continuing with today's panel. The Entrepreneur's Reset, Fueling Your Body, Mind, and Mission. I want you to help me introduce Rose Gowen. I want to tell you a little bit more about her before she walks into stage. I think she's a really important person. I think she's really community-based. She was elected to Brownsville City Commission in 2009, and she was re-elected in 2013 and 2017. She's also an active Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation board member, so you're gonna see her everywhere. And she's also an entrepreneur herself. You can also find her on Saturdays at the farmer's market. Dr. Gowen serves on the board of Rails to Trails, Conservatory, the nation's largest trails and active transportation nationwide. Rose was also a leader in designing and developing the Lower Rio Grande Valley Active Plan. So please, 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 help me welcome her con un súper, súper fuerte aplauso, por favor. No los escucho otra vez. Yo creo que un poquito más fuerte. Gracias, gracias.
Thank you very much, and all of you for coming out to spend your lunchtime with us when we are going to talk about some very meaningful things that we don't always think about, very doable things. And so with me today, I have Belinda, Graham, and Dinora. Please join me on stage, and we're going to have them introduce themselves. So why don't you start us off, Dinora? Tell the crowd, who are you?
Hello, welcome again. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Dinora Galvan. I'm the franchise operator here at Brownsville Fit Lab, where is your home, guys, if you're ever willing to take a challenge with us.
Belinda?
Hi, everybody. So glad to be here. My name is Belinda Reininger. I'm the Regional Dean for the UT Health School of Public Health, based right here in Brownsville, just around the corner. We are celebrating our 25th year in the Rio Grande Valley, serving the Rio Grande Valley, thinking about public health, and so we are so proud to be based in Brownsville, and thank you for inviting me to be on the panel.
Absolutely. Graham?
Hi, yes, thank you. Graham Sevier-Schultz. I'm an entrepreneur, owner of 7th and Park Cycles and Coffee, right by Linear Park, near the farmer's market, near the zoo, our little corner of the city. Also a property owner, father, husband, all that good stuff. So.
And great socks, Graham.
You noticed?
Thank you. So you guys, we have a physician, a university dean, an entrepreneur, a business manager with us today. And I want to ask them, the first question is, what do you do? What is your preferred way to really address health and wellness in your lives? I'll start off. Mine is bicycle riding outdoors. I love being outdoors, feeling the breeze on my face, looking at the birds and the trees, and just forget everything that happened in my day. What about you, Graham?
Yeah, I think you and I share similar interests in cycling. Like I mentioned, 7th and Park is a bike shop, coffee shop. Those are the two things that I enjoy, the things that I like to do with my day. For my particular type of ADHD, that's what it takes for me to go into work every day. It has to be something I enjoy. The reason I enjoy cycling is it becomes almost meditative at a point. I tell people it's hard to be mad when you're riding a bike. It's one of those joys that we experience as a child, and for me, that joy stuck with me. I'm now 42 years old, and I still enjoy the challenge. There's a famous American cyclist who was competitive, Greg LeMond. He said, it never gets easier, you just get better. So it's one of those challenges that you can do, one of those activities that you can do at your level, no matter what. And there's the cardiac and health benefit, but there's also, it's like nature's dopamine, right? The physical challenges that that we put ourselves through that we enjoy, that help us stay healthy and keep our mind and our bodies active.
You're absolutely right. And cycling is one of those things you can do when you're young, when you're not so young, when you're middle and senior. And I've moved from a racing bike to an e-bike, some to trike bikes. There's always a modification so that you can remain doing something that you enjoy. Belinda, what's your preferred way?
So my preferred way, I'm so glad you mentioned about as a little boy you fell in love with riding bikes. My preferred way is still the same as when I was a little girl. I used to love going out, running through these trails outside and just in my backyard with my dogs, and spent out, see you at dinner, and then you come back. And I loved that time. And so still today, that is my preferred way to start the day. So as many days of the week as I can. I'm outside listening to the birds sing. I actually videoed my little walk this morning, and I was laughing because I've got the birds singing and I've got dogs running around, and I'm, just at this point in my, I'm kind of in a recovery stage on some health issues, and I'm, walking and running and walking and running and just doing the best I can, but my mental health is so much better when I've started my day off that way. So that's my preferred.
Well said. Dinora?
I want to acknowledge that for everybody, wellness looks different. It feels different. For me, it's movement with purpose. Whether it's at the gym when I'm working out 30 to 45 minutes, it's purposely being there. One of my favorite phrases that I use when I start a class is, let's go ahead and disconnect from the outside and connect with our bodies. It's very hard once you start. You have all this overwhelm, especially as leaders, when we are trying to guide and have the pressure of people surrounding you and trying to make them work. Mindfulness for me has been more being movement with purpose. Staying active when someone comes in and purposely seeing them and staying engaged with them, that brings me a lot of peace, a lot of relaxation too.
Yeah, I think you all hit upon the relationship between physical activity and mental health and mindfulness and peace and calm. Those are really key words that I think we all want all of you to take away, because it's not just about what you do for physical activity, because it also affects your whole personality. There was a study done right here in Brownsville a few years back at the School of Public Health that showed if you meet the 150 minutes of exercise a week, and that's like 30 minutes a day, you'll reduce your rate of cancer of any kind by up to 80%, regardless of how much you weigh. So it doesn't matter if you're thinner or not so thin. If you find time in your day to have some physical activity, just 30 minutes a day, every day, you can actually reduce your rate of cancer by 80%. That just floored me when I heard that statistic, because, take grandma for a walk. Go for a walk yourself. Be active. You don't have to be the perfect size, so to speak. So each community has trends and realities of health risks, and so does Brownsville. We're a unique place. We're unique in so many ways. And Belinda, tell us what are the realities of our health risks here in the valley, let's say.
Yeah. So the reality is that our population in general does have higher risks of multiple conditions. Whether it be diabetes, prediabetes, hypertension, etc. And many of those conditions are driven by kind of the same two behaviors, right? That lack of physical activity, and then our food choices, right? And that often leads to not living at the healthiest weight we should to prevent those conditions, as well as all sorts of different types of inflammation in our bodies that are persistent and then create these health conditions. From brains to our toes, right? That these types of behaviors that we're making those choices every day impact us in our short-term health as well as our long-term health. And you've probably heard lots of people talking about how those choices today, you're really thinking about what kind of quality do I want in my life when I'm 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, right? We've got to make those choices for today so that we have that kind of life that we want to live later. So we are at a higher rate. We have more risk for all of those conditions. And unfortunately, many of those conditions don't just come in sets of one, like, oh, I have this. We have about 70% of our population have one or more conditions. So very quickly things get complicated because we're one body, right? We're one human and we're making these choices. So, as we think about that, there's lots of good news too. So that's kind of depressing. So we know we need to do it, right? And honestly, how many of us go, oh, that's such a shock. I didn't know I needed to move more and eat better. In today's day and age, we really often we wouldn't expect that. But the good news is we can have health benefits with just very manageable improvements. So if we lose 5% of our body weight, right? So 5 pounds, 10 pounds for many of us, we will have huge health benefits. Our blood pressure improves, our diabetes gets under control, maybe we even reduce that we even are at risk of diabetes anymore, etc. On and on and on. So 5 to 10% body weight loss results in huge health benefits. And then one other statistic that isn't local, but is a huge study that was done and published in The Lancet, just focused for a minute on physical activity, not so much on the healthy food choice, but for individuals who are not doing physical activity. So they're right at this kind of stage in their life, there's like 0 minutes of physical activity. And there are lots and lots of us who would report that. And individuals with chronic disease, often we're seeing, so they may have diabetes and they're not being physically active. This huge study published in The Lancet, very reputable. If we can get people to go from nothing to something, they will live longer. Like it's that clear. From nothing to something, right? You mentioned, like, everybody has your own choices, whatever. You can improve how long you live right there. So we got to grab our friends and grab our loved ones and say, okay, let's go together. Let's go from nothing to something.
I think all together you've pointed out as well, gyms, bicycles are not frivolous things. They are things that are necessary. Trails, parks, those are not expendable. And so our leadership needs to know that, to hear from us. A bicycle's not a toy, it's a tool to be able to achieve the things that she's talking about. A gym is not, it is a necessity, because there are people who enjoy gyms as opposed to being outside. And so we want to be able to provide all of those options for our people, not just one thing. So Graham, let's shift a little bit and say, what is your week like when you don't get time to do your health maintenance, let's say?
It's a different week, that's for sure. So like I mentioned before, I'm a father of 2 kids, and they're both the age where they have their own after-school activities, not to mention getting them to school, picking them up, and additional appointments. So the thing that I've learned about staying active during the week, so I show up as a better parent for them when I do have the time together, is being selfish. And what I mean when I say that is, I know that I need to protect my time that I have to go work out for an hour, or after they go to bed, I might go for a run or put my bike on the trainer if the sun's already down. But that selfishness of guarding my, say, 5 hours a week and keeping track of those 150 intensity minutes on my wrist, reminding me every day where I am in that progress, it really makes my days go better. It makes my life go better. I am more proud of feeling healthy, of knowing that I'm a little more capable because I did do a workout, because I lifted a little more than I did 2 weeks ago or whatever. It's just essential. It's not optional to me now. If I do travel, I'll make sure I put my running shoes in or find a hotel that has a gym and get creative with my workouts and try to enjoy that run in a new city that I'm visiting or whatever the case is. Try and take my bike with me if we're going camping. And it really, again, that selfishness of protecting my own time for my own mental and physical well-being helps me show up better when I do have that time with my loved ones. So
I think that's a good point. Dinora, let's say there's you had an injury. I don't wish that upon you. But if you can't work out 1 week, what do you feel like that week? What do you think?
It's the totally opposite of what I'm here for, which is if my energy goes low, my stress level goes up, my patience sometimes runs short. And unfortunately, a lot of the times we feel that we have to give in more to everybody else rather than take care of ourselves. Even when it comes to an injury, I figure out ways to work. If it's an injured shoulder injury, I work my lower body. If it's a lower body injury, I try to work my upper body. I pay more dearly if I don't work out than the pain I'm going through that injury at the end of the day. And everybody around me, especially my family and my business, everybody pays, unfortunately, for what I cannot deliver at that particular time.
What do you tell your clients? Like, if let's say someone's not used to exercising and they want to start. Well, the first time they're probably not hooked yet, right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the first time and you're sore and like, I don't know if I like this. What do you tell your clients? How many times do they have to try it before, do you say, you got to try it 5 times before you give up or before you feel the benefits? What do you tell folks?
The one thing that has worked for me, it's bringing them in, and the first week is just for them to experience what we can deliver, what we can offer. We don't want the intensity. We don't want them to go out and try to, because the first thing you want to do is match everybody around you. But everybody's on their own journey. Everybody started at one point where they are starting. So I try to give them a little bit of peace of mind where I tell them they were where you are right now. Don't try to match their journey. They are on their own journey. You need to start your own journey right now. So for the first week, I try to guide them to make sure they understand the logistics of the exercises, the importance of the exercises. I try to educate, not through the exercise, but more what is the exercise going to help you on the day-to-day outside of here at the gym. It's not about pulling a kettlebell, but what about if you have to carry your son out of a situation, God forbid? What if you have to stand up from the floor fast enough to get out of a burning building? Who knows what can happen late? The world is, how it's coming. So my connection to them is it's not so the exercise anymore, is what the exercise is preparing you outside of the gym. I think the gym, it's not a luxury anymore. It's a commitment to yourselves. It's a commitment that you have to make at the end of the day for your family, to be there for your grandkids, for your kids, active, and not for them to be taking care of you. So I add more value than just the 1 hour. I add the value for their life to better their life.
That's terrific. So folks, you got to go at least a week before you start to really make it feel comfortable. I used to tell my patients, if I told you that you couldn't brush your teeth for a week, you'd get grossed out, you wouldn't like it, you'd be fighting it because you're used to doing it. On the other hand, if you don't exercise or you're not active and I tell you can't exercise for a week, you're like, okay. Because you're not used to it. It's not integrated into your regular routine. So try at least a week, some activity as she's describing, and get someone that will support you through it, knowledgeable about it, and maybe even go with a friend. Research says that we exercise or we're active more readily, more long term if we go with a buddy. And that's proven scientifically. So, Graham, you talked about what you do in the morning and you're a better person and better parent. I couldn't agree with you more. I have 4 kids. I totally agree with that. But what are some of your tricks? You must have a trick, okay? You talked about being selfish for yourself, which is a good thing in this case. What other tricks do you play maybe to get your kids distracted so you can go do something or do something at work so that you've saved that time? Do you have a trick?
Yeah, I've learned a few things that I can do. One is a trick that you just mentioned. It's either the group fitness classes. I see some of my friends at these workout classes, and you sign up, you commit to it on the schedule, and even people that I didn't know before I joined FitLab as a member. I think maybe I should just stay home and have a big dinner instead. But I know if those other 5 people are in that class, there's no reason why I can't go. So that helps keep me motivated. That accountability helps. The other thing is kids, right? They all have their own bicycles and skateboards and scooters and a basketball hoop in the backyard. So sometimes I can't carve out that time for just me. So I try to make sure that they can be included and they have their own tools to go on their own health journey, and maybe we can do something together, or maybe we can do something separately, or there's also kid classes at FitLab, for example, and a few other gyms might have something like that to help our kids grow up familiar with health and their bodies and their movements and safely moving those weights around and growing their strength. The other is, if I couldn't get my full workout when I was younger, I wouldn't get any workout. So I've learned that a 20-minute short, quick session is better than no session at all. So if I can, again, I mentioned that running is like my backup, right? If I can run for 10 minutes and get a mile in, that's better than not running for 10 minutes and getting a mile in. So those are kind of the things that I have to remind myself that if I have certain amounts of time, it makes certain activities available. And if I'm in certain locations, I don't have my bike or whatever, I can do body weight exercises or whatever needs to be done, I can do. So
Great. Belinda, any tricks out there on the trails?
I think one trick is, because I like to start my day that way, and I'll stay up late and working, and I'm tired. I'm like, oh gosh, right? But when it's that day and you're like, oh, I'd really rather XYZ, anything, I'm telling myself, yeah, but that's going to be better if I've done this, or I'll feel better, or like I'm already now, having this debate with myself, just get up, you're going to feel better, because I know I will. Like, I've had those experiences enough that it's always worth it, right? It's always worth the time, the energy, and then the rest of the day goes better. So I just stop the debate, and I get out of bed, and I go. And there's nothing pretty about it, but I'm just out there. And then I think the other trick, and Graham, you alluded to this as well, and as I'm getting older and kind of seeing how my exercise journey, my health journey is changing, just because I'm getting older and I've been doing it a long time. So I started running and I was 20 years old. Well, I'm not 20 anymore, right? So it's been a long time. But the point being, I can still have goals. I can still, even if I can't run as fast. Some days I can't run at all, but I can walk. And so it's like being really thankful, like leaning into the fact that I am thankful that I am moving. I am thankful that I'm out there, and I'm just embracing whatever part of this journey I'm on, as compared to, maybe even less. So just that. So stopping the debate and doing it, and then being really thankful as I'm in that process.
I think that's a good point. I'm older than Graham. I'm 66. My oldest son is 42, and my youngest is about to be 30. So in my generation, The kids did sports like soccer teams, or nothing wrong with that, but that was their fitness, was going from soccer practice to karate practice to whatever. It really wasn't a go on a family bike ride time. It wasn't popular. And so I envy those of you who are younger parents, because it is popular to take your kids on a bike ride, or to take your kids on a run, or other adventures that weren't really popular when my kids were growing up. So take advantage of that. I think back every time I see a family riding or walking on the trail, I envy them for the memories that I didn't get to make with my kids. Yes, we have memories of going to soccer practice, but you know, that's not as exciting as being able to remember that I went on the trail with you, and do you remember we saw those red-crowned parrots, and we got to see bats fly into Oliveda Park, and so on and so forth. So those of you who are younger with kids and are entrepreneurs or business people, take advantage of that. That's a real trick. Take your kids along, build memories, and your parents and your older relatives too. Seniors need to be active as well, and they enjoy seeing birds and walking and fresh air and so forth, and they're going to feel better too. So Dinora, what about your employees or your customers, your clients? Wellness is obviously very important to you. It's your business. How do you instill that love into your workers and the people that come? Is there a trick that you do to get them on board even more so than maybe when they walked in the door?
You'll be leading by example.
Okay.
There's going back to the time of making for exercises, and it's one question I ask everybody. If you guys were to be scheduled for a meeting at 5 a.m. in the morning, 3 times a week at your job, would you guys attend that meeting? And I think more so than not, everybody, of course. So why can't you show up for yourself? Why can we show up for everybody else, not show up for ourselves? So for me, it's creating that system to where I schedule myself at 5 a.m. in the morning to show up and work out. And that's my time. They see that, and without much putting of words or challenges or trying to push them to do something, they have on their own become mimicking my actions. So through that, I encourage healthy challenges. I bring in groups. Everybody gets on members and grab a little bit of challengers here and there, and they all try to healthy, competitive, of course, try to help each other, but they also help boost their selfish, their well-being, their habits. At the end of the day, it's a healthy environment where I mean, he can tell you, I've created a community where everybody there is, although they're on their own journey, they all have a same goal, which is a healthier lifestyle.
So from a business perspective, and you all have employees, even at the university, health insurance is less expensive if your employees are healthy, right?
Yes.
And if they don't smoke and other markers, but particularly if your employees are active, they will have lower rates of diabetes, hypertension, or controlled rates if they can't avoid it altogether. And I already said the study that proves they'll have fewer rates of cancer as well. So from a business sense, there's the health sense, and you live longer and so forth. But as a business owner or operator, you have to pay the bills. You have to pay for health insurance for your employees and so forth. And so say a word about that, Graham. You have employees?
Sure. A lot of my employees are younger. A lot of them do have health insurance through either their parents or school or some other source. I do try to encourage activity within our staff. Even recently, we all did a run, the Causeway Run from Port Isabel to the island. So I encouraged them to train. I told them, hey, if anyone's interested to sign up, we'll start a team. I'll pay for everyone's entry. And that did help get everyone involved and engaged. And we had that fun challenge of making sure we were all running and being prepared. And we all showed up that morning. And it was a good, I'll say, team building event. That wasn't really like my mindset going into it. That's just kind of how we like to interact at 7th and Park. I always make it available. Our employees get employee discounts, right? So if they are interested in cycling, if say they're a barista, they don't come in on the bike side or any sort of background in cycling, they know that we're there to help them just as we would a customer or anything like that, and get them set up with a good mode of transportation or exercise or whatever it is they like, so that it's available to them as an activity.
And Belinda, a lot of people think universities have unlimited budgets. We wish, right? But they don't. They have budgets just like any other business. What is it like providing health insurance for your employees?
Yeah, we're definitely hit by the same, we have the same types of insurance vendor, and we see the same increases that all of you are facing as well. And so it really is the easy things are in place already on what, how you can make costs at least contained around health insurance increases. What's really left to do is these more complicated lifestyle behaviors. We have to get people who are being more active, living at a healthy weight in order to keep seeing the skyrocketing costs on health insurance. We face that at the university for sure. I think for us, and both of you set the stage for this, it's really about building a culture of health at your organization. That at our organization, we expect that we're going to be, we're a school of public health, so we have that moniker that says, well, you should be healthy. Live what you're talking about, what you're researching, what you're promoting. So there's an expectation, but it goes beyond that, right? Like living by example, certainly. We do things within our organization that allow staff to have walking meetings or go take a break during the day and go for a walk, get outside. We have times where we feature employees who are incorporating those healthy behaviors into their life, and so we can promote those individuals, their stories, right, to our other employees as well as to the public. There's times where we have, we just wrapped up the Challenge RGV, and so that's a community challenge. Well, we have our own challenge within our organization. So I, as the dean, can pay the prize money just for my employees, not taking from the broader pool, right? So again, promoting a healthy weight, promoting exercise, promoting healthy eating. When we have meetings, when we host meetings, or when we have meetings, even like our Christmas lunch, our Thanksgiving lunch, it's part of it is like we have healthy foods, right? And people get to share healthy foods. So it's creating, it's not like one thing, it's lots and lots of little things. And so then it creates opportunities for people to talk about weight loss or their health journey or their new exercise routine, or they're going to this particular gym and being a part of that. So anyway, I think that it's making it more of a culture of health for your organization, and saying to your employees, we really prioritize this because we prioritize you. You're going to be, we know as the employers, they're going to be better employees because of it. They're going to feel better. All the things that we just said we want them for them too.
Right.
But it's the whole organization.
I think people that come to visit you or interact with you, whether they're your client or your students or your customers, see that energy in your staff, and they want to be involved in that energy. Who doesn't? It's attractive and engaging. Grace, is it okay to take questions from the audience? Okay, so if there are any questions out there, yes, sir, up there.
Is there any research in that population for motivation to exercise and to live? Yes. My concern is the 80 years old to 90 years old population. Is there any research due to their physical and mental stage different from the lower ages? Is there any research being done?
So a few things. One is that the federal guidelines around physical activity don't say, oh, at this age you don't have to exercise anymore. In fact, they say the exact opposite. Everybody should be exercising. And in the most recent change on these guidelines, they not only talk about like cardiovascular types of like moderate or vigorous physical activity so that we have heart benefits, but also having like a strength training, weightlifting types of resistance into that. Because when we're doing all of those things, when we're 80 to 90, we're feeling better. But your question focuses on, okay, I got somebody who's 80 years old, in their 80s to 90s, what should they be doing? So the ideal is that they are still moving. They are getting exercise, that 150 minutes of exercise. Now, it's not going to look the same as my colleagues up here, right? It's going to be at their level, but they are moving. We actually have some research that shows across the population. So there's that moderate intensity activity, which is I'm working hard, but I can still talk, right? I can still have a conversation, but I'm working hard. There's vigorous activity where my energy level is such that I really can't carry on a conversation. And then there's light activity, so even before that, where it's maybe gardening or walking, but it's not as intense. Even light activity, when we take into account people doing light activity, there's health benefits. There's mental health benefits and there's physical benefits. So as someone ages, if they move down and they're doing more light activity, that's still beneficial. So if for the 80 and 90-year-olds, if that's where they fit, do that. If they want to go for a brisk walk, then do that. But try and still hit those guidelines for wherever they are.
And I believe there is also research that is tying movement to reducing rates of Alzheimer's or improving Alzheimer's. So I think you're probably going to see a lot more of that because that's a really hot topic. And there's a lot of research that proves that things like gardening, as she mentioned, is a valuable thing for mental health, self-esteem, brain activity, because you're thinking and planting seeds and all of that for everyone, including those seniors. Any other questions? Great question.
So you're pretty much saying your health is your wealth, correct? So without
I wish I was as wealthy as I am healthy, but
Your
well, you
currency.
are healthy. You are wealthy. You have the
Yes.
privilege of waking up every morning because you just never know what the next day is going to happen. But honestly, what you guys are doing is fantastic because we need the change of lifestyle. And it starts from discipline, like you all said. That even from running a business it takes discipline. Yeah. But honestly, more props to you guys. Massive success, and the sky's the limit when it comes to health and wellness.
thank you.
Thank you. I for many years, I really don't always enjoy the term quality of life because most people think of that as expendable. Yeah. I want to do this over here. I want to do economic development or something more meaningful or serious. Quality of life can wait till next year. Quality of life can wait until we have more money. But in reality, you hit the nail on the head. Your health is your wealth. You can't be productive in an economic world if you're not healthy. There are no vibrant cities filled with sick people. Think about it. Would you want to visit it as a tourist or live in a city where there are horrible health risks and it had a great job, but it's a really unwell place? You wouldn't probably choose that city. They go hand in hand. They should live on the dashboard, equally important because they are equally important. One cannot thrive without the other. Thank you for your question. Any other questions? Well, yes.
Did your parents influence your health choices and being active also, or did that come later on?
Well, my dad was from Brownsville, and he was an athlete and became a coach, and a very successful coach. So my mother was from Southern California, single mom, and she and her brothers used to surf on ironing boards because they couldn't afford surfboards. So they were very active in Southern California. My dad was as well. So at my dinner table, the question of how was PE was just as important as how was English class. And so that's how my sister and I were raised. So yeah, I would say they definitely did. Anybody else have a parent story?
Yeah, I definitely grew up in a household where it was at least accessible. All summer we would be at the pool, kind of more free play than is so common these days. I was able to ride my bike around the neighborhood. I grew up in San Antonio. It kind of sun up to sundown type thing where I could get on my bike, I could go find a neighborhood crew to throw a football with, or the elementary school campus was open when I was a kid. So I would go there on weekends more willingly than I would on weekdays, right? Basketball court was open, playground was open, all that. But I think that created that muscle memory of challenging my muscles and being comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And getting that muscle memory and that muscle growth that's kind of helped me. As this gentleman pointed out, later in life, you're dealing with things like muscle deterioration and loss of range of motion and things like that you kind of want to train your muscles and your joints earlier in life. So you don't realize that when you're 6 or 7. You're just looking for novelty, a challenge, and some competition. So I'm grateful that I did have the opportunity when I was younger, and I'm really becoming more and more appreciative of it now. So yeah.
Great question. Any other questions?
May
I think we
just
have
add-
time for one more question.
I just want to add, it's
Yes.
never too late. So if you didn't grow up exercising, it's also never too late to start. Our bodies were made to move at every age.
And grab your parents and take them with you. It's not too late for them either.
I think we have time for one last question. Does anybody have any questions?
Yep.
Do you walk in your neighborhoods, or do you walk to certain places, or bike? And yeah.
I do.
So, I mean, this gives me a chance to thank Dr. Gowen and some of the other people in this room for helping create some of these bike lanes and these one-way roads in our part of town, because it does make it possible for me to walk in our neighborhood. All the arrows that mark bike routes and things like that do make it possible to leave from our driveway with our kids and know that we're going to safely get a mile in before we come back. And it is nice to be able to observe our city that way and see the parrots and all the other things that our city has to offer.
It's really neat to be able to get up in the morning on a Saturday, ride your bike to, let's say, the farmer's market, enjoy the farmer's market, then have some lunch and some coffee, and then ride home. And all morning and all day, you didn't get in your car, and you didn't have to get your keys and have traffic. And you sometimes do that on vacation in places that are built that way. Well, why can't you do that at home? And so our first master bike plan, it was very ambitious, challenging the city to build an access point to a trail within 1/2 mile of every home in Brownsville. We haven't quite gotten there, but we've made a lot of progress. But think about it. You like doing that on vacation. Why do you have to wait to go on vacation to do that?
I want to add just to his question and my personal experience. I have a 79-year-old who came in not even able to stand for 5 minutes. Now, after we've been open for 4 months, he's taking care of both of his grandkids. He just celebrated his 55th anniversary, I believe, wedding. Super thrilled because he was able to fit in his suit again, which I don't know, how do you keep a suit for 50 years, but blows my mind. But does it matter as far as research? I don't know, but my experience, just a little activity that he started on now has changed completely his life. Oh, yes. Yes. Muscle mass has increased, his visceral fat has decreased, his energy levels are, he's traveling now. He wasn't able to move, and now he's traveling and running after 4 years of being just, I think it was, when he showed up, he was only doing aqua aerobics. That was as far as he could take it. And now he's able to run, and again, it's one of my biggest prides in that Fit Lab. Yes.
There you
Arturo,
go.
you know Arturo. Yes.
Okay, and thank you so much for being such a great audience. Thank you to our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. And if you hopefully go back to your small businesses and your jobs, and you integrate a little activity in there, and give it a try, at least for a week, and see. We know that you will feel better and be more productive in your jobs.
Can you all help me thank Dr. Gowen for being such an amazing moderator today? Un poquito más fuerte. Gracias, gracias. We're going to take a group picture really quick. And right now, I know you loved this panel. I just want to let you know that we have 3 more sessions going on in 15 minutes. You have a 15-minute break while you go to the other sessions. They're going to happen simultaneously. So, in Ruby Capital Room, maybe you want to write this down. In Ruby Capital Room, it's going to be building AI native foundations. I know AI, it's everywhere right now, so you might want to go. Si quieren aprender un poquito de AI, de la inteligencia artificial, yo les recomendaría que se fueran a Ruby Capital Room. Los 3 cuartos están para atrás. And PNC Bank Room, we are having managing projects with confidence. En PNC, en PNC Room, vamos a tener cómo manejar los proyectos con más confianza. Y en Coca-Cola Room, en el cuarto Coca-Cola, vamos a tener the RGV Ecosystem Map. Si quieren saber un poquito más del ecosistema de la RGV, no se lo pierdan en el Coca-Cola Room. Also, some announcements. Let me take up the stage for a minute. We have some announcements. Remember, this was a great panel talking about wellness. We have in Starbase Room, we have our wellness room. If you want to have a 7-minute guided meditation, a 7-minute break, you can go to that room. It's completely free. At 2 p.m., they're going to do it for 15 minutes. So it's going to be a 15-minute guided meditation. But right now, you can just go and do a 7-minute guided meditation. If you're a little bit thirsty, si tienen un poquito de sed and you need maybe a bottle of water, a soda, Coca-Cola, we have it in the fridge that's in the entrance, right next to our coffee station. Si quieren una botella de agua, si quieren una coca, un refresco, está en el refri de la entrada al lado de la estación de café.